I never thought I'd be the guy typing one of these out. But here I am, sitting alone in a hotel room 3,000 miles from home, scrolling through messages from friends and family, half calling me a monster, the other half asking what the hell actually happened. So here it is. Maybe you can help me figure out if I really am the jerk in this whole thing. My wife and I, let's call her Melissa, have been married for 4 years. Together for 6. No kids. We both work demanding jobs. I'm a software engineer. She's in pharmaceutical sales. We make decent money, but our schedules often clash. She's out of town a lot, and I'm usually knee-deep in code at weird hours. Despite all that, we've made it work. Or at least, I thought we were making it work. This trip was supposed to be our grand reset button. A 2-week vacation in Portugal and Spain. I'd been dreaming of this for years. Sunsets over Lisbon, tapas in Seville, wine in the Douro Valley. I planned the whole itinerary myself, hand-picked boutique hotels, day trips, food tours, the works. I even got us upgraded to business class using points. This trip was going to be something special. We left on a Sunday. I was pumped. We Ubered to the airport, checked in, got through security. Everything was fine until the gate. Melissa disappeared just before boarding. She said she had to grab something from one of the shops. Fine. I waited. They started boarding Group 1 us, and she still wasn't back. I tried texting her. No response. I called. Straight to voicemail. 10 minutes later, she shows up laughing, holding a bag of snacks and a neck pillow shaped like a sloth. I wasn't amused. We were literally the last to board. She brushed it off like it was nothing. Whatever. I let it go. The vacation was just beginning. On the plane, things seemed okay at first. We got seated aisle and window, no one in the middle seat. I pulled out my Kindle. Melissa put on a podcast. Dinner service came. We clinked glasses. It felt good. Like we were finally stepping out of our routine. Then came the moment that changed everything. About 3 hours into the flight, I got up to use the restroom. I left my phone charging on the armrest between us. I was gone maybe 5 minutes. When I came back, Melissa looked up at me with this strange expression, like she'd just done something and was daring me to notice. I didn't think much of it at first. I picked up my phone, sat down, and went to check my messages. That's when I saw it. My home screen wallpaper had changed. It used to be a photo of our dog, our golden retriever, Moxie. Now it was a picture of, well, I didn't recognize it at first. It looked like a screenshot of a text thread. I unlocked my phone, and sure enough, she had taken a screenshot of a conversation I had with my coworker, Maya, and set it as my wallpaper. Now let me explain. Maya is someone I work closely with. We've worked on the same product team for almost 2 years. Yes, we get along well. Yes, we sometimes joke around, but it's never been inappropriate. I'm not emotionally or physically cheating, if that's what you're thinking. The screenshot was from a week ago. Maya had sent me a meme about caffeine and burnout. I replied with something like, "If I die, tell my code I loved it." She responded, "You're ridiculous. Don't die until you finish the UI redesign." I replied with a laughing emoji and said, "You just want me to stick around so I can debug your mess." That's it. That's the damning evidence. Melissa, somehow, while I was in the bathroom, had gone into my phone, taken a screenshot of this conversation, and set it as my wallpaper. I turned to her and asked flatly why she did that. She smirked and said, "Still think I don't know what's going on?" I was floored. I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" She leaned in and whispered, "You've been flirting with her for months." Don't insult my intelligence. I told her I wasn't flirting, that it was just how coworkers joke around. I told her to unlock her phone and show me something half as sketchy, and I wouldn't jump to conclusions. She rolled her eyes and said, "Whatever helps you sleep at night." For the next 2 hours, we barely spoke. I stared out the window. She watched a movie. At one point, I noticed she had turned off her screen and was just sitting there, looking straight ahead with this icy stillness that made my skin crawl. We landed in Lisbon at 9:20 a.m. local time. We had a connection to catch one of those tiny regional flights to Porto. I was exhausted, jet-lagged, and emotionally short-circuited. We went through customs without a word between us. Then, as we were heading to our next gate, She stopped and said she needed to go to the bathroom. I nodded and sat down near the terminal. 10 minutes passed. 15. I texted her. No reply. I walked toward the bathrooms. She wasn't there. I called her. Voicemail again. Panic started creeping in. Did she get sick? Did something happen? Then I saw her. Not in the bathroom. Not in the waiting area. Not in the cafe. She was across the terminal, sitting at a wine bar, sipping a glass of white like she was in a rom-com. Her phone was face down on the table. I walked over and said, Melissa, what the hell? We're going to miss our connection. She didn't even look at me. She just said, go without me. I asked her what she meant. She said, you obviously want to be alone so badly. Go. See how much fun Portugal is when you have no one to gaslight. That word, gaslight, it felt like a punch to the stomach. I had tried to be patient. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't accused. But somehow in her version of reality, I was now the manipulative villain. So I stood there for what felt like a century. Then I turned around and I left. I boarded the plane to Porto alone. I sat in the aisle seat, heart racing, wondering if she would show up at the last minute. She didn't. I landed in Porto an hour later, alone, checked into our hotel alone, walked the riverside alone. I didn't hear from her until the next morning. A single text. You really left me. No punctuation, no explanation, just that. So now I'm here, 2 days into what was supposed to be a dream vacation, wondering what the hell just happened. Am I the jerk for leaving her? Because the longer I sit with it, the more I wonder if I actually crossed a line by walking away. I stared at that text for hours. You really left me. That's all she said. No follow-up, no call, no I'm sorry or where are you? Just a statement, a cold, passive-aggressive sentence that hit harder than anything else she could have written. I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a walk through the streets of Porto, trying to distract myself with the tiled buildings, the smell of roasting chestnuts, the sound of fado music echoing through alleyways. But the truth followed me like a shadow. Every moment was tainted by what had happened. It was like someone had flipped a switch on the trip and maybe on our whole relationship. I should have felt guilty. A better husband might have. But all I felt was exhausted. When I got back to the hotel that night, I finally responded. I didn't leave you. You told me to go. You made it clear I wasn't wanted. 3 dots appeared, then they disappeared, then nothing. I didn't hear from her for the rest of the night. The next morning, I woke up to 5 missed calls and a text that said, I can't believe you'd do this. I'm staying in Lisbon. Don't contact me. So now we were in the same country, but we might as well have been on different planets. I tried calling once, just once, to make sure she was safe. Straight to voicemail again. Classic Melissa. We had been in worse arguments before, but nothing like this. Something had shifted. This wasn't just a fight. This was war. And here's the thing. Melissa has always had this way of flipping the narrative, so she ends up the victim. It's subtle. She doesn't scream or cry or break things. She just rewrites history in her head and then acts like I'm crazy for remembering it differently. Let me give you some context. A few years back, we were at a friend's wedding. Open bar, lots of dancing, the whole 9 yards. At one point, she disappeared with a group of people, and I didn't see her for over an hour. When I finally found her, she was on the beach. Yes, they had a beach wedding, talking with one of the groomsmen in what I would describe as an uncomfortably close fashion. Nothing overtly romantic. But the body language? Off. Way off. When I brought it up later, she laughed it off, said I was being insecure, accused me of trying to control who she talks to. Somehow, the fact that I noticed anything at all became the problem. Not her behavior. Mine. That night, I ended up apologizing. It took me 2 more years to realize how often that dynamic repeated itself. So when she looked me dead in the eyes at the airport and said, go without me, part of me thinks she didn't expect me to do it. She expected me to beg, to grovel, to circle back like always. And when I didn't, when I actually left, I think that shattered something in her. Or maybe it shattered something in me. The following day, I went to the Douro Valley solo, Took the wine tour I had booked months ago. Everyone else was there in couples. I pretended not to care. I smiled for photos. I nodded at the tour guide, but I was spiraling inside. That night, I got another message from her. This is what you wanted, right? Your little solo vacation? Go enjoy it with Maya. There it was again, the accusation, the paranoia. The complete inability to believe that, maybe, just maybe, I didn't need another woman in my life to feel disappointed. This was never about Maya. Not really. I responded with, you need to stop weaponizing your jealousy to justify being cruel. Her reply, keep gaslighting. You're good at it. At that point, I just turned off my phone. The next morning, I checked out early and took a train back to Lisbon. I didn't tell her. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to feel close enough to the disaster zone in case things went nuclear. Part of me hoped I'd run into her, that maybe we'd clear the air, talk like two adults. Instead, I walked into a nightmare. Around 2 p.m., I went to a cafe near the Alfama district. I sat down, ordered a coffee, and pulled out my phone. I was about to open the map when I saw I had been tagged in something. A Facebook post. Melissa never uses Facebook. My stomach dropped. I opened the app and there it was. A selfie of her at a wine bar. Not the one in the airport, another one. Alone, eyes red, glass half full. The caption? Alone in a foreign country because my husband decided his coworker was more important than me. Just be careful who you marry. My name wasn't in the post, but I was tagged in the photo, publicly, and within minutes the comments came flooding in. People we hadn't talked to in years suddenly had opinions. Her cousin wrote, you deserve better. An old college friend said, men are trash. Some random person I didn't even know commented with a string of red flag emojis. I was stunned. She made it look like I abandoned her for another woman. She weaponized social media the same way she weaponized everything else, with half-truths and carefully worded ambiguity that made her the innocent party and me the unfeeling monster. I texted her, what the hell is that post? No reply. I tried calling. Voicemail again. Then 30 minutes later, I got a message from one of my coworkers. Not Maya. Another guy from our team. It just said, bro, what is going on? My stomach turned to lead. I realized she had tagged me on purpose, so that anyone, friends, family, coworkers, could draw their own conclusions. That's when I did something I'd never done before. I blocked her. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I didn't throw anything. I just stopped. I walked to a nearby park, sat on a bench, and stared at the river. And I realized that this wasn't just a fight. This wasn't even about the trip anymore. It was about control. It was about how long I had let someone else define the terms of my reality. When I finally checked into a new hotel different from the one we originally booked, I looked in the mirror and didn't even recognize myself. I looked tired, older than my 33 years, like I had been carrying a backpack full of emotional bricks for 6 years and had finally set it down. Still, part of me wondered, had I gone too far? Should I have tried harder? Should I have waited longer at the airport? Should I have chased her across the terminal? Should I have lied and said Maya meant nothing, even if there was never anything to begin with? Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I know. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who gaslight you into thinking you're always the villain. And sometimes leaving someone behind isn't cruelty, it's survival. By day 5, I had settled into a strange rhythm. Wake up late, walk around the city, avoid eye contact with happy couples, drink too much espresso, try not to check social media. Melissa's Facebook post had gone semi-viral in our little world. People I hadn't spoken to since college were messaging me with vague, hope you're okay texts. Some were passive-aggressive, some were straight-up accusatory. One guy I barely knew sent, didn't know you had it in you, man. That's cold. The worst part? Nobody asked for my side. No one wanted to know what actually happened. Melissa had fed them just enough drama, just enough salt, that their imaginations filled in the blanks. By now, I had reactivated my phone service just to stay connected. Still blocked her number, though. Still no sign of her in Lisbon either. That all changed on day 6. I was walking along the Tagus River, debating whether to splurge on a harbor cruise, when I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. No name, just a Portuguese area code. I almost didn't open it, but I did. And this is what it said. "Hey, this is going to sound crazy. I don't want to get involved, but I feel like you deserve to know. I met your wife the other night." My heart started pounding. I stopped walking. The next message came right after. She said she was here alone on a soul-searching trip. We talked for a bit. She seemed nice, but also intense. She got emotional when I asked if she was married. I didn't pry, but she eventually told me she was here alone because her husband cheated. Another. I didn't think much of it until I saw her post and recognized your name. "I don't know either of you, but this didn't sit right with me. I looked you up." Another. "I don't want drama, but if I were you, I'd ask her about the guy named Aiden." "Aiden?" I read the name over and over. I messaged back. "Who is this?" There was a pause, then, "I'm not giving my name. I'm just someone who's been cheated on before. Figured you deserved to know what kind of game she's playing. Good luck." And then they were gone. Blocked me or deleted the chat, I'm not sure. I stood there for a long time, just staring at the river. My brain was trying to keep up with my pulse. Aiden. I hadn't heard that name in years. The last time I did, Melissa had mentioned him offhandedly, some friend from a sales conference she went to before the pandemic. She said he was insufferable, that he kept texting her weird memes and asking if she was single. She made fun of him, mocked him even, but now I wasn't so sure. I unblocked her number and typed out a single question. "Who is Aiden?" 3 minutes later, she replied, "Wow, guess the rumor mill made it to you." That wasn't a denial. I sent, "Is there something I should know?" She replied, "Are you really in a position to judge me after what you did?" There it was again, the deflection, the assumption, the implication that I had done something, that my fictional affair with Maya gave her moral license to nuke our marriage from orbit. I wrote, "I didn't cheat on you, not emotionally, not physically. If you think memes and inside jokes are betrayal, maybe you were just looking for a reason." No reply. I followed up, "Did you cheat on me with Aiden?" Still no reply. Later that night, after 2 glasses of red wine and a failed attempt to enjoy the fado performance at a tavern near my hotel, I got the real answer. She texted, "I didn't sleep with him, but I did talk to him, more than I should have. I met up with him for dinner the night after you left." I stared at that sentence for a long time. She didn't sleep with him, but she met up with him, while we were supposed to be on vacation together, after she told me to leave, after she framed me as the unfaithful one. I felt numb, hollow, and then she dropped the final bomb. I messaged him weeks ago, actually, before the trip. I guess I just wanted to feel wanted. I didn't plan to meet him, but after what you did on the plane, I figured I had nothing to lose. What I did on the plane? I went to the bathroom. That's what I did. She was already emotionally cheating, already laying the groundwork, and when I didn't play her game, when I didn't beg or cave or dance to her tune, she doubled down and turned herself into the victim. She messaged him weeks ago. I don't know how long I sat there with my phone in my hand. At some point, the music stopped. People left. The restaurant closed. I was still sitting at the table, stunned. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the strategy behind it, the cold logic of it all. She picked a fight, made herself the victim, posted online for validation, and used my so-called emotional affair to justify lining up a replacement. And the worst part, no one would ever know the full story. To them, I was the jerk who left his wife on a plane, the guy who emotionally cheated with a coworker, the husband who ditched his partner in a foreign country. She had spun the story, and people bought it. But here's the truth. She left first. Emotionally, she had already checked out of our marriage. I was just the last one to admit it. The next morning, I got a message from Melissa. No drama, no guilt tripping, just this. "I'm flying home tomorrow. You can stay and finish the trip if you want. I won't stop you." That was it. No closure, no apology, just a quiet retreat. I didn't respond. Instead, I booked my own return flight. We didn't speak at the airport. We didn't sit together on the plane. We landed in New York and went our separate ways. No shouting, no grand finale. Just silence. The kind that follows after a bomb goes off. We didn't speak for 3 days after landing. Melissa stayed at her sister's place. I went back to our condo, the one we picked together 2 years ago because it had potential. The one with the half-painted guest room and the dog-eared travel books on the shelf. Moxie, our golden retriever, greeted me like I'd been gone for years. She didn't know anything had changed. She still expected her morning walks, her tennis ball tosses, her dinner-time belly rubs. Dogs don't care about betrayal. They just want consistency. Maybe that's why I cried for the first time. Really cried while brushing her fur on the kitchen floor that night. It wasn't the trip, or even the cheating. It was the death of the story I'd been telling myself. That Melissa and I were just going through a rough patch. That every couple had moments like these. That the fights in silence and tension were just temporary. But they weren't. The next few days were a blur of awkward texts from mutual friends, missed calls from her mother, and one very uncomfortable email from our building's HOA reminding me we still hadn't submitted our landscaping preferences for the back patio. On day 4, she came to the condo. She used her key, walked in like nothing had changed. Moxie went wild. I just sat at the kitchen counter, sipping cold coffee like I'd been waiting for a ghost. She didn't look angry or ashamed, just tired. She asked if we could talk. I said sure. We sat down in the living room. The place was too clean, too quiet, like a model unit in a showroom. She started first. Said she felt unseen for a long time. Said I checked out emotionally, that I stopped being curious about her life, that I didn't ask questions anymore, didn't flirt, didn't fight for her attention. She talked for 20 minutes without pause. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't crying. She was just delivering a eulogy for us. And the whole time I felt this weird sense of déjà vu, because I've heard those words before, from friends, co-workers, Reddit threads. I felt alone even when you were next to me. When it was finally my turn, I didn't defend myself. I didn't even deny what she said, because maybe she was right. Maybe I had stopped trying. Maybe I had slipped into autopilot. Maybe I did miss the signs. Maybe somewhere between our mismatched schedules and passive-aggressive texts, I became more of a roommate than a husband. But here's the thing. When someone feels neglected, there are ways to fix it. You communicate. You ask for therapy. You plan a date. You write a letter. You don't message Aiden from the pharmaceutical conference. I told her that. I said, you could have told me how lonely you felt. You didn't have to set a trap. Her eyes welled up. But she didn't apologize. She said, I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. That hurt more than anything else. Because I wasn't unreachable. I wasn't abusive. I was just tired, distracted. Maybe emotionally checked out, but still present. Still loyal. Still trying in my own flawed way. She stayed for another hour. We didn't solve anything. There were no big revelations. Just fragments of clarity scattered between long silences. When she left, she said she'd be in touch. That was the last time I saw her in person. The next week, a letter arrived in the mail. From her, no envelope, just a folded sheet dropped into the mailbox like a final chapter. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't poetic. It was a list of things she wanted to keep. Her grandmother's credenza, the Le Creuset pots, the espresso machine. Nothing sentimental. Just items. Things that made the split feel transactional. Tidy. At the bottom, she wrote, we can sell the condo and split the rest. I don't want this to get ugly. It was already ugly, but I understood the gesture. I called a lawyer the next day. People started asking questions. My mom called and said, I saw Melissa's post. Is it true? I said, what part? She didn't have an answer. Maya, the co-worker who was unknowingly cast as the other woman, pulled me aside after a team meeting. She said, if I made anything awkward between you two, I'm so sorry. I told her it wasn't her fault, that she was just a convenient scapegoat. She nodded, then said something that stuck with me. Be careful dating someone who's always the victim in every story, because eventually you're going to be the villain even if you're just standing there. I think that was the moment I fully realized it was over, that it had been over for a long time. I had just been too scared to admit it. The divorce was as civil as a divorce can be. No lawyers screaming at each other. No custody battles, just a golden retriever who somehow became my anchor during the worst year of my life. Melissa got most of what she wanted. I didn't fight her on it. We sold the condo. She moved back in with her sister for a while before finding a place downtown. I stayed in a one-bedroom rental with Moxie and more silence than I knew what to do with. The strangest part of a breakup like this isn't the heartbreak. It's the after. It's waking up and not knowing what to do with the extra toothbrush in the holder. It's seeing their contacts still saved in your phone under some cute nickname you forgot existed. It's the half-empty bottle of perfume on the dresser that still smells like a ghost. For months, I didn't date, didn't party, didn't even socialize much. I kept my head down, worked my job, and took Moxie on long, aimless walks where I replayed the entire relationship in my head like a film reel on loop. I tried to pinpoint where it broke, what I missed, what I caused. Was it my fault? Was I the jerk? I'd gone back and read Melissa's post more times than I care to admit. It's still up, by the way. She never took it down. Last time I looked, it had over 400 likes and a sea of sympathetic comments. Not one of those people knew the full story. Not one asked. She controlled the narrative, and she kept it simple. Her husband left her. On a plane? In a foreign country. And technically, she's not wrong. But here's what her post didn't include. That she told me to go. That she ignored my texts. That she emotionally cheated weeks before the trip and lined up another man like a safety net. That she used my phone on the flight to take a screenshot of a completely innocent conversation and turned it into her smoking gun. That the whole trip, this carefully planned reset for us, was already dead before the wheels even left the tarmac. The people who knew me best didn't believe the version she posted. But even they didn't know the full scope. Because honestly, it's exhausting explaining your own betrayal when it's painted in shades of gray. Melissa wasn't a monster. She was hurt, confused, maybe even scared. And I wasn't a saint. I was distant. I was distracted. I worked too much. I prioritized my career over connection. I assumed we had more time to fix things. I thought later was still on the table. But none of that means I deserve to be ambushed on a plane and framed as a villain to the internet. So no, I don't think I was the jerk for leaving her. I think I was the jerk for staying as long as I did, pretending like the cracks weren't there. Because when someone repeatedly shows you that trust is a game to them, that truth is negotiable, that loyalty only matters if it's convenient. You either leave or you become complicit. I left, and I'd do it again. It's been almost a year now. Melissa and I haven't spoken since we finalized everything. Her post is still public, last I checked. I stopped responding to people who brought it up. Most of them lost interest once the drama cooled. Maya transferred to another team after the divorce. Not because of me, but because she couldn't stand the weird energy people gave her once they learned she was that coworker. We still talk now and then, but there's nothing romantic, just mutual respect and a shared sense of awkwardness about how easily people accept half a story as gospel. Funny thing is, no one ever asked me to tell my side, until now. So here it is, all 10,000 words of it. Maybe you still think I'm the jerk, that I should have fought harder, stayed longer, bit my tongue and proved I was innocent. But here's the reality. Sometimes walking away isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And sometimes leaving someone on a plane isn't the worst thing you can do. It's the most honest.